I'm a bad motherfucker.
This will wrap up my first full month of full-time spacing out on X, right? The new vehicle, right? On this platform, formerly known as Twitter. We got a lot of stuff to get to. Obviously, a lot of people didn't understand what happened in the Franklin cover-up, the documentary that was going to be aired on the History Channel that was pulled hours before its premiere due to pressure from you know who, right? The elites that don't want their dirty deeds exposed, and the light shined onto this very dark industry depravity of child brutalization and child sex trafficking, pedo rings, all the other things that you're told is bullshit, right? That was supposedly debunked with the Pizzagate incident in DC of James Alefantis, Comet Ping Pong. Remember? It's all bullshit. The Q-tards are stupid. They'll believe anything, right? All you need to do is put a Q-tard on mission, have him shoot up this place and rant and rave about how satanic pedophiles rule the world, and it's a done deal. It's dispelled. It's discredited. It's muddied, right? And of course, Bjerknes just made another insane video about the Putin interview I want to play. It's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable. We're going to get into that and more. And obviously, if you have any thoughts, Tucker Carlson, they're talking about charging Tucker Carlson for espionage for interviewing Putin, right? Because we all believe in openness and transparency and discourse and throwing it out there, a free flow of information in the marketplace of ideas, or maybe not. Or maybe not. You know, that's another illusion that's being shattered. This wonderful freedoms in the West, right? That we enjoy. Yeah, sure,
guys.
If you say so. There's a lot going on. Yeah, guys. If you want to jump on here, you got something to say. Just go ahead and do it, and turn your mic on. And when you're not speaking, turn the mic off. Nobody wants to hear the shuffling papers at your desk, or if you're in a fucking public area. We don't need the background noise. And if people don't do that, it was an issue yesterday, so I'm gonna have to keep a closer eye on it because I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to share with you next, where we're going to go, and I can't just stare fixed at the room, right? Who's in the room, etc. So there's the Putin interview, the fallout from the Putin interview. We're going to talk about Bjerknes. I'm going to continue on the pedo thing because that's a very important subject for me, because it does illustrate how wicked this ruling structure is. Child predation, there's nothing lower. It's absolutely one of the most, if not the most heinous crime one can commit, and yet they feel it's a privilege of their station. Once you get to a certain level, a certain strata, people think it's okay. Not that it's talked about or publicly flaunted, even though it is in certain areas, right? But it's just a horrible reality that not only do we have to change, should we change, but we must change. Must change. El Snarko, hello. How's the volume, guys? El Snarko, go ahead.
Your volume's really good. Everything sounds professional. Obviously, we're waiting for a few people to come in. I think I was the first today because I set you as a reminder. So obviously, I was the only one to do that. So remind everybody, yeah, do your reminders for Bashai. And can I make a hot take? Can I say a hot take?
Go ahead. Say whatever you got to say, man. Just don't.
Okay, the more people discuss the Putin interview, the more it's going to come to what I've already learned and my hot take. And it's that there's two sets of rules. So Putin was trying to assume they would agree on one set of rules of reason and order and respectfulness. And Tucker was aggressively interviewing, not noticing the one set of rules, because America likes to change the rules as they go, and then they blame China for not keeping contracts. Amen. All comments and discussions are going to lead to what I just said. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, guys. What is it? They're not letting me change the title of this fucking stream now. What the fuck's going on here? Okay, no,
dude, you dropped me yesterday when your thing ended. You were telling me something wrong with my mic or something, but your whole thing dropped.
Yeah. Your mic was on, and I was asking you to turn it off, and I don't know if you could hear me, and it wasn't turning off, so I had to remove you. So
well, they're really messing with you, I guess, huh? So are you like on some list, or what's going on?
It's not what list am I on? It's what list am I not on, dude?
I agree. You're probably on a lot of lists with a lot of different countries, I would think, right? Because if you're on a list with China, they could be sending all your info to Canada. That's how it works. They spy on you through other countries.
All right, man. Brother B, go ahead.
Good morning, Al, and good morning, my fellow space cadets. Brother B in the house.
Cadet.
Here.
Hey, space cadet.
Yeah, I guess if we're spacing on space, it makes us space cadets. I don't know. I just thought that was funny.
Well, we obviously have no power, so we're just here to have coffee.
Exactly. I got my freshly brewed coffee right here. So yeah, I did watch the Tucker interview, and it's funny how right after on that same day we had Putin speaking eloquently and and coherently, and then on the other hand they released the thing about Biden that they can't charge him because he's a senile old man, basically, kind of what they said it in a roundabout way. And then they had a press conference with Biden, and he was just fumbling, and I guess that Ducey on the controlled opposition Fox asked him if he's able to, run the country, and Biden kind of, flipped out a little bit. Biden was funny. He kind of held it together a little bit, but compared to Putin, it's just like night and day. So after that interview, I switched over to the Last American Vagabond, and he had what they were talking about with the Haiti situation, and they went into with Clinton's, and they did a little Pizzagate thing. So I sent that to you, Al, when you get a chance. I know it's long. We could fast forward and look through it, but man, that guy, if anybody wants to, I don't have anything to do with that guy, but I think he gives a balanced approach to what we're hearing. Like when I watch the regular news, I want to see what they're up to and what I need to watch out for. But so we got to get our news from reliable, as far as we know, sources. But that's about it. I just thought Putin, he did it was like night and day between Putin and Biden, and I think that's what they're setting up with the whole. Because how I think it's all on the chessboard, and they give us these two things, these two polar, the white checkerboard and the black and the white checkerboard. It's just insane looking at it. It's like, am I in a? Sometimes I want to think like how they give you the flat Earth and the round Earth thing. Am I the two sides of COVID? Was it a come from an animal, or was it a lab leak? We always get these two sides, and somewhere in the middle lies the truth. It's just so strange.
I heard it as a raccoon.
Yeah, or a pangolin, or I can't even pronounce what that thing was. But yeah, it's ridiculous. I think it's 5G. That's just me. I think it's 5G. I always think it's what are they? If they're going to put the two sides out there, it's probably neither of those sides. they quote
It's
world leaders or controllers or whatever.
What did
It's
you
world
think?
class
What did you think
deflection.
about the Putin interview in terms of how he came off and Tucker's performance? Just real quick.
Putin was very eloquent. He stated what I mean, he was just a coherent what you would expect in a world leader, compared to stumbling, bumbling Biden or Trump pansy. We get these two buffoons, and they got a guy that. How old is Putin?
I think he's in his like 60s.
Oh, okay. So he's a young man, compared to Biden and Trump. You know what I'm saying? But
I think he's in his 60s. That's a good question. Late 60s, maybe. Yeah.
And Tucker, he was Tucker. He's always kind of a loose.
Hold on, that's a good question. Anybody in the room, let us know how old Putin is.
Well, I asked him personally, but then he told me the history of Russia in response.
That's funny. But Tucker was his usual.
Don't quit your day job, bro. How old is Putin?
Yeah.
How old is Putin?
You proceeded to tell me the 800-year history.
Putin is 71. Okay, so I thought late 60s. I wasn't that far off. 71. But he looks like he's in his fucking early 60s, right? He's in good shape.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see Biden riding a horse with his shirt off like Putin.
No.
Look at that one they had him out there on the.
That should be a criteria for presidency. If you look good on a horse.
Okay, guys, thanks. I will.
Hey, Albert, can you drop me down to listener because I'm going to be doing some.
I'll drop you guys both down.
Yeah, drop me too. Drop me down.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
Drop me down, man.
All right, man. Relax. Yeah, he's 71 years old. So that's what we get. That's what we got, right? A typical stellar performance from Putin, right? Very learned, very sophisticated, cosmopolitan. And this is what we talk about every time. This is why, in every situation, whether it's Saddam Hussein being fucking interviewed by Dan Rather or Bernard Shaw, he did the circuit. I think he did Brokaw as well before the Iraq War, or whether it's Muammar Gaddafi, or whether it's Bashar Assad, or whether it's Hugo Chavez. Every time we have a so-called enemy that's interviewed, they come off very well. They come off as being honest and respectable. And that's probably why there was such high level of kosher poop being produced in the Western capitals. And they're all shitting their pants in Brussels and London and in Berlin and Paris and DC, right? Because they want to keep their narrative that Putin is Hitler. They want to keep that crazy, batshit, fucking nuts CJB narrative that's indistinguishable from Rachel Maddow or any of the talking heads, right? Whenever you find yourself, CJB, in alignment with the kosher fake stream MSM, perhaps it's time to reevaluate your position, right? I'm not the one carrying their water and telling you and sharing the message that Putin is Hitler. So maybe you should question people's judgment that are giving you that Putin is Hitler, he's all that is evil. And we're going to continue into Björknes's descent into madness later. Yeah, and his another fucking toilet bowl video he did less than 24 hours after he produced a steaming pile of dog shit. We're gonna listen to that as well. And do you think it's a good sign that they're talking about charging Tucker Carlson with espionage? You think if Tucker Carlson got charged with espionage, that's going to be a good look? You think if the European Union bans Tucker Carlson from ever visiting Europe, you think that's a good look? Do you think these fucking petty revenge kind of punitive actions to punish him for simply doing his job is a good look? I'll tell you what, it's almost as if this is being done like by the numbers, right? I mean, can you be that stupid? Can you make this many continuous miscalculations? I don't know. It's like they can't get out of their own way, and all of a sudden, you wonder why. Oh, you know what? Put your finger in the air, stick your finger in the air, and you can see where the wind is blowing. You see where this is going. You see Piers Morgan all of a sudden giving a shit about the Palestinians and their plight, and how the Ziobots are shitting on him. Oh, you mean it's a tall order. It's a tall order to defend genocide, right? To be a mouthpiece for the Zionist state. You're earning your money, guys. I'll tell you that right now. Those guys and they do get paid, right? They get paid very handsomely. They recruit influencers. Say something, they'll bring you on an all expense paid trip to Israel. If you say something nice on Twitter 3 times, if you make at least 3 posts a day, they'll send you an all expense paid trip to Israel, right? And who knows? Maybe if you play your cards right, you'll get to brutalize a child, right? In the pedo capital of the world. Or if you like the Beans and Frank, there's no better place on planet Earth than Tel Aviv to be a Beans and Frank aficionado, to go dancing. Perhaps you'll see George Santos. Perhaps you can dance with George Santos in Tel Aviv. It tastes like matzah. Oh. Yeah. This is our sick world. Let's go to you know what? Let's queue up. I was going to wait for a little bit more people to come into the room, but who knows what they're doing? If people are getting the notifications or what the fuck suppression thing is. We're talking about the Putin interview, the fallout. They're saying Tucker Carlson's might be charged with espionage, and they're considering it. The boycott being banned from Europe by the EU. Why are they trying to sanction this guy? I know, because he did his job. and my personal opinion was he did a horrible job. In my opinion, Tucker's interview was his performance was horrible. Not Putin. Putin can only answer the questions he's asked, right? And people are like, oh, he went into a history lesson. Well, do you think context is important? He went into a 1,000-year history lesson. Well, do you think context is important? No, it's not important. We're Americans, Bert. We just want a fucking 10-second soundbite. Yeah, that's all we can handle. Because we're dumb fucks. No shit. Ready or not, here we go. Listen to this bullshit.
Vladimir Putin stressed pedophile Vladimir Putin.
Okay, so that this is how he starts his video, the last 2 straight videos on Putin, by calling him a pedophile and offering no kind of proof or anything. Listen to this string of shit.
Stressed several key points in his interview with Tucker Carlson. Putin emphasized the fact that his primary goal in Ukraine is denazification, meaning to him the extermination of Amalek, the materialistic Roman Edomites of the West, whom the communists cryptically refer to as Nazis and fascists. Putin portrayed the Russian soul as if in...
Wait, I missed that. When did Putin regard the West as Amalek? Let's hear that again. I mean, because look, guys, if you can if you can make this kind of interpretation, you know why this is so useful right now, while it's fresh in everybody's mind that just saw this interview yesterday. He's already put out this video. So we've all seen what Bjerknes has seen. Now we can differentiate our interpretations of what we have both seen. And his interpretations are fucking insane, is my point. And I want you guys to hear this insane diatribe of madness.
Pedophile Vladimir Putin stressed several key points in his interview with Tucker Carlson. Putin emphasized the fact that his primary goal in Ukraine is denazification, meaning to him the extermination of Amalek.
That's what it means to him? Denazification means the extermination of Amalek to Putin? Did I miss that? Did you guys miss that? I think we all missed that, Bjerknes.
The materialistic Roman Edomites of the West, whom the communists cryptically refer to as Nazis and fascists. Putin portrayed the Russian soul as if inherently spiritual and the Western Roman soul as if necessarily materialistic. This marks Putin as the Messiah son of David of the Gentiles.
Oh, is that what it does?
Against the spiritual behemoth forces of
okay, you know, we have to stop. Hold on, Bjerknes. Hold on, Bjerknes. Where are you?
Under the control of the spirit of David.
Okay. You know, like I said, just a fucking litany, a howitzer of bullshit. So this means that Putin is the Antichrist. Let's listen to this again. This marks Putin as the Messiah, son of Joseph. Hold on.
Necessarily materialistic. This marks Putin as the Messiah son of David of the Gentiles, who represents the spiritual behemoth forces of David.
So he represents Messiah, son of David, right? For the Gentiles, the spiritual behemoth. All right. So I guess the Antichrist du jour, according to Bjerknes, is Vladimir Putin, right? Vladimir Putin is the Antichrist du jour.
And Islam. Putin himself represents the Gentile faction under the control of the spirit of David and Judah as the brutal leader of the behemoth. The Leviathan West is led by the materialistic Roman Messiah son of Joseph. Westerners, according to the Kabbalist Vladimir Putin, naturally produce
He's a Kabbalist now too. Did you guys know that Putin is a Kabbalist now, a Jewish Talmudic Kabbalist? Just in case you didn't know that, according to Bjerknes, and he substantiates this with fucking fuck all.
Technology and material goods because they are the descendants of the evil serpent and consume the unripe fruits of the tree of knowledge, which seduce them to dwell on materialism and give away their spirituality. Like Esau gave away his birthright and blessings, his spiritual soul, for next to nothing, a mere bowl of lentil porridge. Putin likened this dualistic, Kabbalistic division of humanity to the two hemispheres of the human brain, the behemoth one controlling the passions and spirituality of man, the other the Leviathan rational and materialistic drives. The international communist and messianic Kabbalist Vladimir Putin discussed his ambitions to destroy the bourgeoisie of the West in favor.
You know, quite the opposite. So you gotta appreciate how many messages and words does he put in Putin's mouth that he never said. He actually said, "We're bourgeois now too," right? Meaning that they're not communists. He said the exact opposite, and you can find it in the interview where this is just a fucking total misrepresentation, outright lie by Bjerknes. Kabbalist Vladimir Putin Listen.
His ambitions to destroy the bourgeoisie of the West in favor of a united global government under the Marxist force.
Under a united world government, wasn't he all about national identity and nationalism and everyone having their part? I missed that whole one world Marxist communist government Bjerknes keeps referencing. I missed that part. Under China, no less.
Sacrifices the so-called golden billion for the benefit of the rest of humanity in a new world government based on the common principles of the Abrahamic faiths, all of which engineer a world to come of global governance under the Jewish Messiah who rules from Jerusalem. Putin's Marxist dogma is the communist bait, which appeals to the philanthropic nature of Western Christians and leftists to lure them into the trap of submitting to a communist elite who seek to enslave all of humanity in a global government in the false name of breaking the capitalistic, materialistic chains of the enslaved masses. Putin himself is a KGB communist kleptocrat who lives like as a decadent king off the stolen wealth of the Russian people. Putin tried very hard to downplay the threat the behemoth forces he and Xi Jinping pose to the West. While Putin's state-sponsored media threaten nuclear war, Putin scapegoats the West for the Russians' alarming threats of nuclear war. Putin falsely accused the West of generating the fear of nuclear war that his media has in fact generated by design through its repeated calls for an apocalyptic world war. He now wants to lull Westerners to sleep and calm their fears so that they do not fund Ukraine or their own militaries and nuclear arsenals, but instead focus on other problems which are mostly caused by the communists and Zionists who have subverted Western government, media, industry, agriculture, and business. After his failed attempts to intimidate...
You see how he's an apologist for American empire. He can just, oh, the West has been subverted by the communists and the Zionists, and all the blame goes. He lays all the blame at the feet of Putin and Xi, Russia and China. I mean, Bjerknes, are you a fucking asset, bro? Are you a disinfo fucking asset? You know, it's unbelievable that he can have such a fucking warped worldview and fan the fears and beat the war drums against China and Russia. Are you cognizant? Are you fucking awake? Are you conscious? Do you know what do you understand what's happened in the last 35, 40 years? Do you understand who the aggressors are? How many regime changes has America been involved in? How many wars have we started? How many wars has Russia or China fought for Israel? Who's subsidizing the Zionist state? It's a fucking laughable position to take. And like I said, anybody out there that's not blocked by this fucking lunatic, let him know I'm here, I'm not queer, and get used to it. I'm ready to go. Whenever he wants to call in, we can have a back and forth, and he can try to spin his bullshit, Kabbalistic, mad interpretations and horrible, dare I say, shit geopolitical takes. Let's get it out there, Bjerknes. I mean, talk about jumping the shark. Talk about horrific takes. I'm gonna have to reevaluate everything now, right? Putting all these words, putting his twisted, warped, Kabbalistic interpretations in the mouth of Putin doesn't sell. It makes you look crazy or completely, you know, what would you call it? Besides a horrible take. Are you tasked with doing this? And then he goes into this whole West thing. Oh, if we did this and if we did that and if we got responsible leadership and if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle, Bjerknes.
Intimidate the West, Putin is now trying to deceive the West into believing the absurd proposition that he and his communist comrades pose no threat, but that the supposed real threat to the West are its efforts at self-defense from the aggressive forces of the behemoth international.
The fact that he can present this as defense, as defensive, when NATO and America has been nothing but aggressive and offensive, should tell you everything you need to know about this man, right? A complete juxtaposition, a complete distortion of reality. You know, the Hebrewoid in Björkness is shining through. Liam, hello.
I am tired of your Putin apologetics. Damn it.
Come on with it.
There was a picture of Putin wearing the red Kabbalah bracelet. Dugin, his buddy, talks about Kabbalism all the time. So there could be, I mean, Björkness sounds like a schizo, but and it's paranoid, delusional. But I just like to bust your balls a little bit sometimes, Albert.
He puts these fucking. Oh, Putin said is committed to the destruction of Amalek. Like oh yeah, I must have missed that part when he talked about destroying Amalek and assuming the mantle of Moshiach ben David, the Antichrist. I missed that part.
You got to read between the lines.
Yeah. He's reading between something.
I mean, is he on the payroll of Ukraine? Are him and Zelensky dancing?
Is he like in the getting funded by some kind of NATO, Brussels, EU? I don't know what the hell he's talking about. Trying to present Russia as the aggressor and we're defensive when we've done nothing but push the borders of NATO east in contravention of all previous agreements, oral agreements. You know, he's hemorrhaging credibility. People are not going to. I don't know. If you ask me, if you have such a horrendous take, if you can formulate such a shit interpretation, I'm not going to listen to you. Why would I listen to a fucking lunatic?
One thing I didn't appreciate about Putin was him jumping on the board of vilifying Germany during World War II by saying that Poland worked together with the Nazis, and then the whole vilification of all of Germany because of the Nazis is something that Putin was doing, which I didn't appreciate so much.
Yeah, you know how many Russians died in World War II?
A shit ton.
29 million. So that's he's not gonna praise the National Socialists of Germany and piss on the graves of 29 million Russians. That's just a reality, bro. And he's posturing and he's playing the denazification card in the Matrix paradigm. If you can understand that, right? This is part of the 4D stuff, right? He's got to work within the established parameters of, Uncle H is all that is evil. The Nazi menace was the most evil thing that ever happened.
Of course.
Blah blah blah. Because hey, turn your mic off if you're not speaking.
I get passionate. Sorry.
Yeah, well, I'm going to remove you, dude, because I don't want to hear the fucking static.
Well, you get passionate too. Sorry. It's off.
All right. Liam, go ahead.
God damn it. These hot mics. So he was asked one point, Tucker's like, well, it looks like our presidents aren't the ones who are making the choices. So who's the one really making the choices behind the scene? if Putin would have been like organized world jury, I would have gone and put on my Russian fucking fedora and danced the polka if that would have happened. But he's got plans in the
you know what he
family.
said though. You know what he said. He said that the American media runs the fucking information of the world. What do you think he means by that?
Oh, he really meant, because we all know that the American media is Jewish media.
Right. So, he can't come out and say, oh, it's organized Jewry, it's the fucking Zionists and the evil Kabbalists and blah blah blah. They'd fucking hang him. They'd hang him out to dry. It would be like, oh, he's the reincarnation of Hitler. He's an anti-Semite. We have to do so. When he's using it against them, right? He's playing the whole Nazi fucking anti-Semitism card. This is his 4D fucking maneuvers. You understand?
He can't go DEFCON 5 on him.
No, because then they're gonna be like, it gives them like everything they want. If he went full like, if he went full Jew woke, it would be the end of him.
What else did I want to say? Oh, he sounded like a Bush fanboy. He's like, Bush was. Did you hear that part? I'm like, what the fuck?
No, he said he fucked them in the end in 2008, and where was it? That NATO meeting when they opened an invitation for Georgia and Ukraine in 2008. But he said he had a good personal relationship with him.
You know what? Compared to fucking Biden and
Obama.
And Obama, Bush
and Clinton.
Yeah, Bush was kind of not so horrible. Actually, I liked him a lot better after he wasn't the president anymore. I'm like, this guy's kind of likable, actually. Maybe he was just an idiot who got.
He's gonna get along. He's gonna get along with Republicans better than Democrats because of the cultural conservatism kind of a thing,
Yeah.
You're not gonna see Putin as a grand marshal leading any pride parades, is what I'm saying.
Tucker brought up the Orthodox Christianity, and he was really trying to get Putin to be like, we are an Orthodox Christian country, but he didn't take that route. Instead, he's like, which I thought he might have. Like, so the Ortho bros were probably seething.
Right. Listen, he's not a fanatic. He's not like a religious fanatic. He's not like giving E. Michael Jones and Jay Dyer fucking high fives. You know what I'm saying?
Why is El Snarkio dumbing down vehemently?
Because I don't like those fucking guys, man.
Yeah, fuck them.
Yeah, fuck them, man. Which side are you on?
I am on the side of truth, my fellow brother.
Yeah, it says you're a theologian, so you've proven yourself right. Cool.
All right, go ahead, brother B. You want something? You want to add something here, and then I want to finish up this steaming pile of dog shit by Bjerknes.
Okay, brother B here. Yeah, the Bergness. What's his name? Bergness. CJB is because of my last name.
Is insane. Is what?
Yeah. Because of my last name, like I always had an interest in world history, what happened in World War II. He would be rocking that Hugo Boss SS uniform, man. If you know what I mean, he just seems like maybe he is being paid by who are those Ukrainian Nazis? What are they called? The front.
Azov.
Yeah, and then they have a American contingent over here that was involved with the South. Something happened down in the South Carolina. Remember when they were walking with the torches? Something United Front or something bullcrap like that. Anyhow, yeah, I just was like my interest in, like I said, since I was a teenager, because my last name is German.
Charlottesville.
Yeah, that's it. it's because of my, last name and my interest since I've been a teenager in World War II. And like, even when I was a teenager, my first thought was like, what did the Jews do to deserve? Like, that's where my mind went. Like, my first thought was, how could a whole country turn against the people if they weren't doing something wrong? Like, even as a teenager, even before I even knew what I know now, my thought was going there. I guess Esau was born to hate Jacob, I guess, if you go on but I mean, I just looked at it like that, like, and knowing like the history of what I know about what happened in Germany, CJB would be a perfect recruit for the SS. He'd be rocking that Hugo Boss with Cobra. That's it.
Go ahead.
Well, you guys are all tripping on his name. So why don't you make it easy for yourselves and just call him Birdnest? He's a little schizo, a little crazy. So let's just call him Birdnest till one of you think of something better.
All right, go ahead, Liam, and then I'm going to finish up here.
Call him Birdnest.
Call him Spurgness. Well, I tell you what, the more I look into history, the more I'm like, you know what? I think America may have jumped onto the wrong side of World War II. And now I'm not a neo-Nazi. I don't think reviving Hitler is going to be the answer to our problems. I'm not even sure if Hitler, if he wasn't just a useful dupe. But their uniforms were cooler looking than America's. All right.
They had the better fashion sense for sure. All right, guys, let's finish up this string of shit.
Communists. Putin is offering the suicidal advice that the West harms itself when it defends itself, and that its only means to survive is to surrender.
Okay, so he's actually pushing this fucking West is self-defense narrative, like, I don't know, like an insane asylum patient.
And play along with Putin's globalism. He pointed out that the leadership class in the West has subverted Western interests with inevitably failed foreign policies. But Putin did not reveal the fact that they have done this as representatives of communism and Jewish messianism, not in an unsuccessful, genuine attempt to better the lot of Westerners. Should this communist and Zionist fifth column of traitorous leaders in the Great West be replaced by men and women who use the power of Western states to forward the best interests of Westerners and all of mankind, instead of the communist Chinese, Soviet Russians, and Zionist Israelis, the West would almost immediately restore its own power and could work for the general benefit of humanity instead of tearing it down, as the communists deliberately do to provide a pretext for the spread.
So he wants to scapegoat the Russians, the Chinese, and the Zionists for the crimes that the American empire commits, because they have the control. But only if we could somehow magically flip the switch, guys. This is all we have to do. This is Bjerknes's fucking solution. All we have to do is just magically flip the switch and get responsible men and women in government, and then we can turn this all around, guys. Did you know that? Let me nominate Christopher John Bjerknes for our fucking Nobel Peace Prize for that fucking novel idea and theory. You know, what the fuck, bro? What the fuck?
Of communism. Tucker Carlson never received an answer to his repeatedly asked question as to why Putin waited as long as he did to begin reconstituting the Soviet Union. The answer is obvious. Putin waited until the communist subversion of the fake dissolution of the Soviet Union had done its work undermining NATO and the West. Putin has always worked aggressively to destroy the West and was given the green light to attack in preparation for the messianic birth pangs to escalate into World War III. The corrupted Western leadership was carefully created and positioned to subvert Western defenses over the decades of Putin's rule, and the Western influences and media were selected.
Now, how do you verify or substantiate any of this? How do you prove? How do you corroborate that this was planned in this dialectic format that he's suggesting, and that Putin was given the green light, and this is all theater, and we've purposefully weakened our defenses while the Pentagon budget goes higher and higher every year? You know, he's long on theories and interpretations and advancing this fucking narrative, but very short on anything tangible in terms of buttressing it with any kind of evidence or proof, right? He's basically, you know, singing out of his ass, right? He's just spouting pure fucking speculation and bullshit flowing out of his mouth that should be more like shit floating from his ass.
Actively groomed and boosted to provide support for the destruction of the West by sponsoring Western self-hatred and bizarre and unnatural Putin worship. Putin instructed a traitorous class of well-paid and heavily supported traitorous Western influencers to train Westerners to hate themselves and absurdly view their own destruction and execution as if the salvation of the human race. Putin brainwashed massive.
Doesn't he sound like he's describing Christians and Christianity? Doesn't it sound like he's describing what the spell of diabolical disorientation entails? And now he's projecting that onto Putin and the Russians. It's actually very comical. Very comical. You know, I'm concerned about this guy's fucking mental health.
Of people in the West to clamor for their own demise in the name of saving themselves. He duped them into irrationally proposing that the only way to save the West is to eradicate it. If Westerners wish to survive, they must recognize their own greatness and that of their ancestors. Should Westerners take control of their own states and employ the immense power of their own states and military forces for their own benefit instead of their own destruction, things would immediately turn around for.
You think so? You think so, Björknes? You think if we weren't manipulated by evil fucking satanic pedophiles, things would get better? You know, like I said, this is one of these Captain Obvious moments, like no shit Sherlock moments. Oh, if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle moments. It's fucking infantile. Oh, if I was only Thanos and I had the Infinity Stones, I would fix this world, Björknes. I certainly would. I'd get rid of all those Bolshevik, communist, Jewish pedophiles, okay?
For the West, and the hostile behemoth forces which seek to commit genocide against Westerners would soon fail and fall. Putin is desperate to convince Westerners that their end is inevitable, so that they take no steps to preserve themselves. Putin wants Westerners to believe that their only hope of survival is to submit to the behemoth and give up on any attempts at self-preservation.
Oh, is it? I'm. That's another part I must have missed. I missed that part where he's preaching that to give up on your self-preservation for the West. Totally missed that one.
America and the West in general need authentic leadership invested in representing the best interests of Westerners.
No kidding.
Should such leaders emerge and seize the power of the Western states, industry and agriculture, the West will flourish as never before, and the lives of Westerners will be richer and fuller than they ever were in the past. The greatness of the West is proven by its resiliency and success, even in spite of its subverted leadership and the endless wars the Zionists and communists generate. With that communist and Zionist yoke broken, the potential for a new glorious age in the West is unlimited.
And then they all lived happily ever after. Come on, dude. Is this serious? Is this scholarship? Is this a serious intellectual? Come on. A bunch of stringing a bunch of fucking bullshit, misinterpretations, putting all kinds of words into Putin's mouth. This fucking insane interpretation of his Kabbalistic intentions. A string of shit. 2 consecutive steaming piles of dog shit produced by CJB. And like I said, anybody that's not been blocked yet by the madman Bjerknes that wants to let him know that, hey, come on in, dude. Unblock me, come on in and present your arguments, and we can go back and forth. Yo huckleberry motherfucker. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Lord. It's too easy. Candy from a, you know what comes to mind? Candy from a baby, right? What a simpleton. I mean, if we could only elect responsible leadership in government, we could really turn things around, guys. Did you know that? Did you know that? Was that helpful for you? Was that some helpful advice? It's absolutely sickening. It's absolutely sickening. And then the projection. I mean, he's his Chosenite, Hebrewoid, Kabbalistic, making the darkness shine is what's happening here. Bjerknes is making the darkness shine. I don't know what kind of game he's pulling, who he's fucking trying to. Oh, it's the West. We're defensing. The West is in self-defense mode against the aggressive Russians. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you kidding me, Bjerknes? What kind of shit? I don't know what he's on, guys. Seriously. Liam, did you what do you think about that? You've read some of his books.
He really finished that up by motivating me to love my country. It was totally oxymoronic. He's like, even though America, the West, has been totally taken over and it's Zionist ruled, somehow everything's going to be okay if we elect more of them into rulership. I mean, makes no sense.
Yeah, his level of projection and the defending American empire, and he's like, oh, it's their fault, right? They made us do this. It's because we got subverted.
Albert, you there?
Yeah. Go ahead. I can't hear you. Liam, are you saying something? I can't hear you. Guys, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can I get a thumbs up? Uh-oh. Guys, I just had to drop out and come back because I couldn't hear I couldn't hear the volume. Can you guys hear me? Can I get a thumbs up now? All right, good.
All right, I'm back. That might have been on my end.
I dropped. I was asking the room if they could hear my voice, and if they could, they were the resistance, and to please give me a thumbs up. And I got no thumbs up, so I dropped out and came back in.
Well, welcome back. It's a pleasure to have you here. Yeah, so I think it made no sense. He says that America is taken over by Zionists and has been for a while, but somehow magically, if we elect an alien who floats down from heaven that everything's going to be okay, and we're
here we go. Did you finish, Liam? Because I can't hear you.
Yeah, am I still not? You can't hear me right now?
Now I can hear you. Now I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's me. So CJB, he finishes off his psychosis by
With some
telling,
hopium, right? He fills your bowl with some hopium at the end. You know, in a if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle. Fucking hopium, fucking thing.
yeah, it totally didn't go with the rest of with. He's like, okay, America, the West has been taken over by Zionists, and we've been warring for their cause for the past 100 odd years. But if we elect somebody who floats down from heaven, like a Jesus figure or an alien, that the West is resilient and we're the best. I'm like, your B doesn't follow your A, and so I don't know how you got to C with that.
Yes, very very good. His logic is insane. Like, what would be the catalyst for getting or set? How do you set the conditions to get this responsible leadership in place? He just skips over that. Like, oh, if somehow I had, you know, the Infinity Stones and I could wish something into being, this is what happened. What would happen? You know, that's all it is. It's like QAnon level bullshit.
Yeah, it was reminiscent. And you know how QAnon goes into, they always finish their videos with some hopium, copium dose. And that's exactly what he did. Just because he has some British guy speaking doesn't mean it's intelligent. It's fucking wacko.
Yeah, the Jared Harris voice is excellent though. I do like that. That's one of his, that's probably the best part of the whole fucking, you know, videos, because the content sucks.
Here, here.
All right. Thanks, Liam. Brother B, go ahead. Let's just go ahead, brother.
Hey. Convoluted, I guess, was what came to my mind listening to CJB. I'm just going to go with CJB. Now, where does he stand on the whole left, right, chimpanzee, Trump, senile Biden controlled opposition psyop? Like, where does he? Because the way he's talking, he sounds like he's for, you know, in the fictional pro wrestling world of politics, he's got a blue jersey on. Like, my tyrant in the blue jersey is better than your tyrant in the red jersey.
Yeah, I don't know. He knows that Trump and Biden are Zionists, but I don't know. He probably prefers Trump. I don't know.
Well, I mean, with that convoluted logic, Trump, you know, because Putin says good things about Trump. Trump's always had a reasonable relationship, you know, if you believe the whole, like I said, the two-party dialectic thing here, because it doesn't make sense that he would be on the side of Trump and the QAnon and the Trump chimpanzees. The way he's speaking, it sounds, you know, like the Rachel, like you said, Rachel Mad Cow syndrome. You know, so you know, he may be pushing the left path Q.
Yeah, let's move on from the
Hey, drop me down because I'm doing chores. I don't want to interrupt the scene.
Okay, we'll do. Let's move on to something productive, from the mind of madness to some really good stuff to kind of contextualize the world that we live in, a very dark, wicked world, right? And where does this emanate? Where do we get all this stuff? the profane, the vulgar, the holiness of sin, salvation from transgression. Blessed be he who permits the forbidden. The evil, Israel must embrace the evil impulse, for without the evil impulse, it cannot prevail in the world. Where do we get this darkness from? You may wonder, right? If you have any intellectual curiosity, let's explore that.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the French Connection. My name is Daryl Bradford Smith. It is Wednesday. It is the 8th day of February. February. Boy, these months are going by faster than I thought. And we've been
before we start the lesson, if you will. Let's get Queen of the Juice. Queen of the Juice, you want to say something before we begin here?
Yeah, wow, this society is very easily manipulated by people that they view as having authority. And this is even after that they know that propaganda has been used against them and the techniques for propaganda. And it's amazing to watch this group of people, just basically go along
Group of juice.
No, the Christians here, I've been surrounded by Christians where I live, and they're fake Christians. By all actions, they're actually Satanists. I mean, and if you really want to go there, it does seem like King David seemed pretty fucking satanic too, watching Bathsheba taking baths, spying on her and all that. And like, this is one of the heroes of the Old Testament, is this type of an individual. So, and then that is the actual bloodline of people that will be, doing those types of behaviors. So it's just like another day of the same old thing. And the people acting like this stuff isn't going on, they're sicker than the people doing it, as far as I'm concerned, because they're just basically putting their head down to predators so that they can attack them in the future and their families and communities, because they're putting zero resistance up to any of these guys. Like, the fact that we've got supposedly free Americans saying that Putin, communist leader of Russia, who did not, try to warn any of the people in Russia with the KGB intelligence agencies that, oh, there's a pandemic, a new world order, worldwide pandemic, and we're all going to fall right in line, with it, and nobody get down to the bottom of who released it. And in fact, we're just going to consolidate more power for the artificial intelligence and these intelligence agents who Mossad, CIA, NSA, all these different groups, including the KGB. Nobody warned the communities that this was a psyop, and it's multi-angular, multi-dimensional warfare, spiritually, psychologically, emotionally, financially, and they were getting the kids to be, conditioned through these methods at these school systems. This just didn't just happen here. They happened in Russia too, happened in China too. So the fact that we've got all these guys like, oh, Putin's telling us the truth. It's like, Putin didn't even tell his own people the truth. Why is this y'all's new hero? Because they love to put their head down to people that they perceive as authority, and it's not just the Jews, it's a bunch of other fake fuckers that are also, predatory. It's not just Jews, there's fake fucking Christians, fake fucking Muslims, fake communists that are also going to go along with the predatory, practices with the artificial intelligence and the intelligence agencies.
So then, what's the point? If this is what you really believe, that the entirety of the world is controlled, right? And we are in this dialectic, and everyone's doing their job, and there's no difference. Then what's the point? Isn't it a done deal? Isn't it a fait accompli?
Yeah, I just make fun of them. I do the darkest fucking comedy imaginable. They're my muse at this point. They're sick as fuck.
Thank you, Jesus. Are you washed in the blood of the Lamb?
Yeah, I've got baptized multiple times in front of the intelligence agency. So,
Could you repeat that?
So are you one of the real Christians as opposed to the fake Christians? Are you one of the real ones?
yeah, I'd be actually doing stuff like Jesus Christ did, like telling the government to fuck off, trying to destroy their money changer tables, and getting crucified in front of my friends and family naked. Yeah, I'm a real Christian.
Was Jesus from the line of King David, who turns out you're not a fan of? I mean, it's a fictional
Exactly.
character.
Exactly. And if he is from that line of people that like to spy on women in their bathtubs, what does that say about the whole baptismal process?
What if Jesus was a fictional character and never actually walked the earth?
Would you be okay with that?
Oh, I don't give a fucking goddamn about it. Personally, I think it's all a joke at this point.
Okay, well,
Okay.
welcome to the resistance, Queen of Juice.
The Queen of the Juice. All hail. Well, this is my point. I have a somewhat different interpretation. I don't think it's I don't think that the Hegelian or whatever the East-West dialectic is as fixed as a lot of people do. And then when you come to the realization that, you know what, why are we doing all this in the West? Why are we fighting all the wars for Zion? Why are we subsidizing the parasite state? Why are we defending them in the UN? Why are we advancing their agenda in the Middle East? Why are we enabling genocide and ethnic cleansing and apartheid? Why are we doing all the heavy lifting for our Kabbalistic small hat friends whilst they seem to be more independent in China, Russia? And what you get is, oh, because it's good cop, bad cop. No, sorry. You're going to have to do a lot better than that. You're going to have to come up with a lot better fucking reasoning than that. That dog just don't hunt. And Bjerknes' projection and American Empire apologetics, it stinks. It smells like gefilte fish. You know what you're doing, Bjerknes, when you were fucking fiddling around with Mary Jane Rottencrotch in the backseat of your Buick. That's what it smells like. Thank you, Jesus. Okay, let's go to let's go back to the great work.
It's
Let's go
actually
back to the great work.
it's the exact anniversary. He did this on February 8th. That was just yesterday, so that's a nice little full circle coincidence.
I want to share the great work with you guys because, it's time to wake up, people, and it's time to call their attention to the threats that face us and not play, oh, here we go. This guy's Hitler. This guy's the fucking Antichrist. This guy's this and this guy's that. I'm not telling you that. I'm telling you we have to extract head from ass and we have to defeat the evil. And Bjerknes is this off the reservation motherfucker talking shit, spewing all these fucking platitudes and, oh, if we could only do this and only could do that, and in the Western part, the Western ancestors and blah, 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 blah. Dude, give me solutions, not fucking hopium. How are you going to get there? He's not providing you any of that stuff. Oh, we have to elect responsible leadership. Oh, okay. That's a fucking great solution, Bjerknes. How do you achieve that? How does that happen when you have a rigged system? He has no answers. He only fucking has hopium and bullshit and projection, and he's showing his tribal self. Listen to this shit.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome welcome to the French Connection. My name is Daryl Bradford Smith. It is Wednesday. It is the 8th day of February. February. Boy, these months are going by faster than I thought. And we've been talking with a lot of researchers over the.
You know why this is more useful? Because this contextualizes everything for you. It tells you, it gives you the background of how we stepped in this, how we exist in this world right now from hundreds of years back.
Last few weeks and even months. Last night with Eustace Mullins, and last week we had a researcher named Christopher on a couple of occasions. And we're always trying to move the ball forward in the area of research. And so I've been looking for people who are capable and educated enough to speak on some of the subjects that are important to all of us. One of the subjects that I have been actually pounding pretty hard on the radio about is this new book. Well, it's not a new book, but to me it was quite new. Most of these subjects are new to me. It's a book called The 13th Tribe by a man named Kostler, and it was written some time ago. However, it is still, to date, I think probably the strongest evidence we've got of some of the deceptions around, the Zionist camp, how they are going out into the airwaves and into the newspapers, creating false charges of anti-Semitism, causing people to believe that they are, in fact, the rightful heirs to Israel and many other things. And so I've invited someone from Britain. His name is Mohammed Grefik, and he has been involved in trying to get the truth out about this stuff for over a decade and a half, going on 2 decades now, which is amazing because, this is back in the day when nobody was talking about this, or very few people. And so I'm going to invite him up right now. Mohammed, are you with me?
I am indeed, Darren. How are you?
It's wonderful to have you on the French Connection. I want you, first of all, to understand that we are probably going to be going out to between 10 and 15,000 people. It is quite an audience. They're extremely well educated, so you don't have to even do some of the base work, because most of the people that are going to be listening today already know the basic story. What we're going to try to do today, I think, is and the best thing we could do, is kind of color in the gray areas with some facts. And I think the first thing I'd like to start out with is how this Khazarian empire was born, and because the listeners they already know that the Khazars are the forerunners to the Ashkenazi sect of Judaism. So, since you've done the study, where did the Khazar dynasty begin, and how did it get underway?
As with a lot of these things, Al, you'll find that there is more than one version of events, and the traditional version and the correct understanding is the understanding given in Arthur Koestler's book, The 13th Tribe. I think his book, if anybody wanted to study it in detail, would be a good starting point. What we'll do is we'll cover both sides of it, I think. We'll cover what the correct version is and then what the disinformation people are putting out. And also look at why, right in the end, I think, why they're putting disinformation on the subject.
Okay.
Well, what actually happened was, somewhere between the 7th and 8th centuries of the Christian era, we find these Khazars who lived in the area which was named after them, Khazaria, which is the land locked between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea. The northern border of this land is actually the third range.
They were like from the Goturks, okay? They're Turkic, right? People, this is Greek I know, 99% of you guys out there. You have no idea what these fucking people are. There was like a whole bunch of them in all different tribes. Attila the Hun comes from these people. The Mongolian, the Turkic people. There was a lot of mixing, right? So they came from the Goturks, and there was 7 or 8 different tribes, or 10 different tribes, and they settled in this area between the Caspian Sea and the Black Sea. and this became the Khazarians, right? The Kagan, Kek.
Of mountains between, if you were to start heading north from the south, you'll find there's actually 3 ranges of mountains, and the third one being the Caucasus up there, just north of which is where modern day Chechnya and Ingushetia are.
Okay.
And to the south, you would find the main trade route that came out through Persia, across northern Iraq, northern Syria, and into Turkey. This was a common... Is that the present Kurdistan region? Do we have a lot of Kurds in that area? It would include Kurdistan and possibly Azerbaijan, and slightly out to the north, even would stretch up to southern Armenia. He does provide a pretty decent map on the website, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to follow along, you could go to the French Connection website. The book is available on the site, and you'd be able to see the map that Muhammad is referring to. Now, the fact that it's between the land of the Khazars is as you go over the first range of mountains and drop down, their empire stretched from the north side of the first range of mountains all the way to the south side of the third. This area is modern-day Georgia. There was a lot of the land in modern-day Georgia. What's important about it is that because they basically had a range of mountains to the north, a range to the south, seas on the east and the west, they remained stable there for a very long time. And it was around the 7th and 8th centuries that they found themselves for the first time facing a difficult situation, in that the Byzantine Empire, which was modern-day Turkey, was trying to stop the expanding Muslim empire coming out of Arabia, which it had already reached up through Palestine and into Syria and obviously out into... And he refers to it as the caliphs. The caliph is the leader. He's the Muslim leader. Right, and he said that the caliphs from the south were making many attacks over the many centuries into his southern flank. That's correct. Yeah. And what he wanted to do, as I say, this is the first area that there are 2 versions of. What he wanted to do, he asked his advisors, how are we going to get out of this political dilemma? What are we going to do that will leave me in charge of this nation? I mean, I don't have to submit to either the powers of Christianity.
This is one theory, right? What do? You got the Byzantine Christendom, Eastern Roman Empire, to your west. You have the Abyssinian Caliphate to your south, and you're in between, right? So the theory is what happened was there was a mass conversion of the Khazarians to Judaism, and they sent for thousands of these Talmudic rabbis to indoctrinate them, and by the 10th century they were fully speaking Hebrew, Yiddish, and using the fire character alphabet and all that other stuff. And there is some archaeological evidence. They have there was a merchant class that lived there hundreds of years before that predated it, and it was a very popular Silk Road trade route. So it was strategically important, right? So these Khazars, there was a conversion. They converted, and does it really matter? Well, it only matters for their bullshit fictional God is a real estate agent, deed to Palestine story. But that doesn't even matter because it's not real. Now, does it matter that this happened or not, or if these people converted to Judaism? What matters, this happened over 1,000 years ago. If they converted to Judaism, they're Jews. If you accept their theology, if you practice their customs, you're a Jew, right? This is a whole, much ado about nothing burger for me as a whole. I just want to bring you the contextual historical background to talk about how what emanated from this region of Eastern Europe in terms of the Kabbalistic interpretations and Sabbatai V and the Sabbatean Frankists. That's what's important here. Thank you, Jesus.
The Caliph, what can I do? He was told by God to find God to a faith. So the Jewish understanding of this event is comes more from Jehuda Halich's work. Where they say that the king of the Khazars was inspired to find God through this dream that he'd been having.
So there is no conflict in the Jewish community as to a conversion to Judaism, rather than them being one of the original Israelite tribes, one of the tribes that wandered out of the Holy Land 1,000 years earlier.
Well, there is no doubt whatsoever within inside of Judaism, within inside of Encyclopedia Judaica, you will find, if you look up the term Ashkenazim, as opposed to Sephardim, within inside the Jewish community, this is very well known. Two types of Jew, the Sephardic, those who are descendants of the diaspora, the true diaspora, who spread across North Africa and eventually made their way into Muslim Spain, and the Ashkenazim, who are referred to as descendants of the Khazars. What happened was that when Arthur Koestler published his book, which is a very well-researched piece of archaeology and history, there was an immediate knee-jerk reaction. He became, very hated for it within the Jewish community. Because although the Jews themselves are very aware of this, it's not something they like publicized for reasons that will become very obvious. Now, what then happens is that another one of the claims which Jews today try to say about this conversion is that this conversion was something which was done by the king alone, the Kagan, and a few notables from the royal family. Right. So they try to say, hey, this wasn't en masse, this was not large scale. Again, it flies in the face of historians. We have Christian of Stavlon in 864 stating that all 7 tribes had embraced Judaism of the Khazars, and all the early historians up to the 10th century they say things like the Khazars and their king are all Jews. All of the Khazars are Jews, but they have been Judaized recently. This is even among the Muslim historians, the Jewish historians.
Why is Joe Pesci trending? Did he die? Is that what happened? Well, I got to find out. Joe Pesci is one of my favorite actors. Yep. No. He's still alive. Huh. Interesting. I don't know why he's trending. Sorry, guys.
Authentic historians of the day all say, no, this was a mass conversion. And evidence to prove that from an archaeological perspective has now been uncovered within the last decade, actually, so, whereby they've found that there was a change in the entire burial procedure of the Khazar people.
Yeah.
They took all of the amulets and things related to their pagan idolatry ceased to be there. And instead we find religious symbolism and them being buried with their heads, I think it is, in the direction of Jerusalem and so on. So it's now recognized that it was a sweeping change across the whole of Khazaria. En masse, over a 200-year period, they were entirely converted to Judaism, to the extent that by the time we reach the 10th century, Hebrew has become their written script, and they are fluent in Hebrew, Aramaic, and their native tongue, which was a Turkic tongue. They were actually Turkic.
Now, I understand. See, now here's the interesting thing that starts developing here. We've got haughty marauders coming down out of the Russian region called the Rus, and they would make, every summer they would make their southern forays into areas around Khazaria and more over time into Khazaria. And there was pressure coming from the east as well as the centuries moved forward from the Mongols, including finally Genghis Khan and his group. So there was a great deal of pressure being placed on his middle kingdom around the 11th century, and it started eroding the Khagans' power. And I understand that there was an exodus of some of them during that period. One of them went to an area in Hungary, according to the book. They were called Kobar Khazars, and they were a Jewish group of Kobar Khazars that moved into the Hungarian region. And I'm wondering if this starts showing that, the Khazarian group starting to fray at the edges, the control points.
Well, there are two sides. That's a very good point, Al. There are two sides to this. One is that if we bear in mind that during this sort of time in which they have monopolized the trade routes north into Europe and the Slavic areas, obviously they're embracing Judaism, caused many people to be aware of that throughout the whole of Europe, and for them as Khazars, wherever they went, they became more recognizable than they previously were. When it comes to them stretching out as far as Hungary, through research which is more modern than just the 13th tribe, we find that these people had made their way to Kiev.
Right.
They were in many other towns throughout the area. We would find them in Pera, in a suburb of Constantinople.
Yeah.
They were in Phanagoria. They were in so many different places.
Now, did they make it north far enough at this moment in the 11th century, as far as wasn't there a little ghetto enclave of this group in like Latvia and Estonia starting to form around 11th, 12th century?
They were actually there before then. They were in Latvia, they were in Poland, they were in the Crimea, they were in Moravia, Croatia, all of these areas that they'd actually made their way into. I have a quote here from the Jewish Journal of Sociology, 1962. It says that Polish scholars agree that the oldest Polish Jewish settlements were founded by Jewish emigres from the Khazar state and Russia.
Right.
While the Jews from southern and western Europe only began to arrive later. Some people, they start to say, okay, we'll accept that Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, and all the Jews of the Slavic states may have been from the Khazars, but they say, but we don't believe this for Poland. We don't accept this for Poland. Polish Jews were Sephardic, not Ashkenazi. But of course that turns out, as that quote that I've just given there from 1962 makes it clear, the original settlements, Jewish settlements in Poland, were again founded by the Khazars or Ashkenazi. So they come all the way that far west.
Now that also there is a body type to each race that we know of. I mean, if you look at Irish, you can see the Norse in there, and you can see a lot of their specific traits of being Irish. Well, the same holds true with the Khazars. They were a willowy kind of lighter skinned, and in some cases their northern part of their country actually had light colored eyes, in some instances blue and even green and gray eyes, and they had like ashy light skin. They were not in any way looking like they had mixed with southern stock from, like, let's say, the Turkish area. And so there was actually some very reasonable eye proof. In other words, you look at somebody from a certain group, you can tell people are Chinese or they're Korean, or not at all the time, but as a group, it's reasonably easy to see if you come from a Semitic background or you come from a Slavic or pseudo-Slavic background. And my point being is that many of the Jews that lived in Poland have no resemblance whatsoever to any Semitic tribes.
Indeed, and it's very important that you're stating that they don't appear Semitic. One of the claims, one of the disinformation claims about the Khazars is that they were originally descendants from the 12 tribes, that they were made up from, say, the lost 10 tribes, or and so on and so on, and all sorts of the strange, weird claims, or they were, you know, with Moses but wandered off in Arabia. This is absolute nonsense. The Khazar people had been in that special area of landlocked flatlands for almost about 2,000 years. By the time they began to emigrate en masse in the 10th and 11th centuries, and by the 13th century Christian era they'd left, almost fully, they had been there 2,000 years now. Their time, this group had been there since the time of the ancient world Hittite kingdom, which was a kingdom that spread across the whole of Turkey all the way to Armenia and north. That was from the ancient world, when there was ancient Babylon and ancient Egypt. The other third big empire of that time in that part of the world were the Hittites. And the Hittites were a Turkic people. And what's crucial is that the Khazar tribes lived under the kingship of the Hittite king.
Okay. So now, the point I want to get to now, I think, because I want to roll this forward, because the filler that we need, that the listeners need, is in the book, and further research that can be gleaned from their own efforts. But the point I wanted to make of all this is that the claim has been made that if I criticize someone who practices the Jewish faith, I can be charged with anti-Semitism. Now that on the face of it would be true if all the Jews were Semites, and you could juxtapose my critique into their national origin or their racial and ethnic origins. But that, on its face, is also a false statement, because these people are not of Semitic background, according to anthropological study. Am I correct in making that assertion?
Indeed, the anthropological evidence is unequivocal. They were Turkic peoples, and a set of tribes who, whilst as tribes, even before their embracing Judaism, would intermarry among themselves, very rarely married outside of the Khazari nation. This became even more strong as a social behavior and social pattern after they had embraced Judaism, because, of course, they began to view the rest of the world as Gentile, because they sent to parts of the Jewish world, like Babylonia and Toledo, and asked for scholars and synagogues to be erected and for books, and began studying this faith.
Now, there was something interesting you told me. You told me something quite interesting. Because they did not fit into Scripture in some instances, especially about being the Israelite group, they began maybe a movement toward the Babylonian Talmudic and not Torah tradition, and this is where the Zohar and the Kabbalistic tradition is stronger within the Ashkenazi elite than in some of the other groups within Judaism.
Indeed, when we look at the practical side of the way that these people practice their beliefs, we find a difference emerging very early on. I would like to say that somebody who was a contemporary of Yehuda Halevi in Toledo in Spain was a man called Abraham ben David, or Ben Dawud, as he's sometimes known. And he had a book which he wrote in the 12th century called Exalted Religion, saying that he was not a philosopher, by the way, he was an interpreter of law, as was Maimonides. And he said that although Judaism itself is a reasonable religion, he said on physiological grounds, the non-Jew who is converted to Judaism is therefore not quite on the par with the born Jew. So we find here within inside this Sephardic community, as they're now known as Sephardi, where they're looking at these people embracing Judaism and saying, well, they're coming in to practice our laws and our teachings, but we don't think they're the same as us. Now, Maimonides himself actually didn't agree with that opinion, but the fact of the matter is that a large number of Sephardi did believe in that and refused to allow their daughters and sons to intermarry with Ashkenazi. Once these Ashkenazi realized, oh, hang on a minute, we're being ostracized here because of something in the teachings. And that something in the teachings is the reference to the house of Israel, or the children of Israel. And this is going to become very important when we discuss this in more detail in a few minutes now. The fact of the matter is, the Gentile can embrace Judaism, and he is a Jew by virtue of what he's practicing. This is what the Sephardi were saying. Right. But they are not the house of Israel. They are not descendants of the house of Israel. They do not come from the 12 tribes. And therefore, we 12, as members of the 12 tribes, remain separated from them.
Now, wasn't there a period in the 1st and 2nd centuries where Judaism, even under the Sephardi, were a proselytizing religion, where they did openly seek converts to Judaism when they made their travels?
Indeed. I mean, with the argument of why, from a biblical perspective, God is supposed to have chosen the children of Israel, they were not chosen because they were particularly special or clever or something. They were chosen to deliver his message to the world, to go out there and proclaim it for everybody and make it available for everybody. So we believe that's what they should have been doing. And it did happen on occasion, and according to a professor friend, F-R-E-N-D, who wrote a history of the early church, he's one of the great historians of the early church here in England, he points out that during the 1st century of the Christian era, actually more people, Romans and Greeks that is, were embracing Judaism than Christianity. Judaism actually spread faster during the 1st century.
Now, so my point is then that not only are that many Jews in that 1st century were not Semites either, they might have been Greeks or even Roman, or might have been even Berber or other tribal groups that were converted during the travels of these proselytizing groups of Jews. So the fact is, even the Sephardic group cannot claim pure bloodline all the way back to Israel in any pure sense.
No, definitely not. I mean, the scale, obviously, of people within Sephardi not belonging to the 12 tribes is obviously much smaller. I mean, to put this in context in modern world Jewry, and this is very important for the listeners, over 80%, some say as much as 90%, so I will settle on 85 if that's okay with you tonight.
Okay, yeah.
85% of world Jewry today are Ashkenazi. This is not small stuff. We're saying the majority of Jews in the world today, people who are called Jews, are Ashkenazi. And as we've been demonstrating, we have, for instance, at the time that the records state that the empire fell, the Khazar Empire fell, they said there were at least 30,000 practicing Ashkenazi Jews who made their way north at that time into parts of Russia which had become friendly with because were doing trade, and had even already expanded out to places like in Kiev, like in Hungary, like in Poland. It became safe for them. What was also interesting was that when the Inquisition began in the 15th century, and Jews found themselves having to leave Europe very quickly, the majority of them went south through Spain into Morocco, and that's why there was a very large Sephardic community in Morocco. Another number of them did travel north into Poland, but it's believed that because of these difficulties between somebody being Sephardic and somebody being Ashkenazi, the fact that the Jews themselves have been very well aware of this, and the fact that ultimately intermarriage between the two groups became prohibited. And coming back to your point earlier, Darrell, the Ashkenazi started looking at Judaism not so much with the emphasis on the Torah, but looking more to the Talmud, because the Torah, the Old Testament, places a lot of emphasis on the tribes of Israel, whereas the Talmud opened up doors for them as converts to Judaism.
So they began a tradition of what we call rabbinical Judaism, didn't they?
That's an interesting point that Muhammad Rafiq is making, that they wanted to stress the Talmud because perhaps they did not share the genetic ancestral bloodline to the 12 tribes.
Yes.
And that rabbinical Judaism, for people who are not aware of what that means that much of the traditions are handed down through the rabbis.
Not that I believe that there were 12 tribes. I don't. But it's the story that we're all fucking have to, pretend happened, right? The King David and the Moses, and none of this shit ever happened. But it's been imposed on us as if it did, right? We talk about this. The historicizing of fiction, and it's very problematic, and we're dealing with it.
And written down by the rabbis, and that the rabbis themselves are the definers of the religion. They define it over time, and that is within the Ashkenazi sect. That defining of the religion is much more prevalent than what you would find in the Sephardic side.
It certainly was at that point in history, and it remained that way for quite a few centuries. That's true, though, absolutely. And so for Sephardic Jews, their home was the Torah, and they would use the other books, especially the Talmud, as commentary. What happened with the Ashkenazi is that they found themselves becoming experts in the Talmud and asking Talmudic experts to come to them and pushing the Torah to one side, till eventually some among the Ashkenazi even began to deny the Torah. They refused to accept it and said, our two books are the Talmud and the Zohar, the commentary on the Talmud. It reached such a stage that
well, because they were being excluded from much of the prophecy that was guaranteed them in the Torah, so they felt maybe that they were not being fairly graced by God in those particular books. So they chose to go to the place that was going to give them the best deal.
Exactly. And also, what was important from the perspective of the monarchy of the Khazars was that they had a vested interest in making sure that happened, because when they brought all of these Jewish scholars in, and the people became Jews and studied their Judaism under them, he wanted to make sure that he had a spin on the Judaism which left him as king and left them as loyal subjects to him, and not subject to some rabbi in some far distant land. So he had to. It was also he had a political reason for making sure that they saw him in a light which was above that their own position. That is to say, the rabbis.
Now, I want to talk about two groups that came out of both Sephardiism and Ashkenazism. What we've got up in the north is a migration into the ghettos, and the reason they ghettoized their society was felt that as soon as they began to move in, there was a watering down of their faithful, and as a result of that, they would have a loss of their community power and the strength of their future strength within the community. So what we've got growing out of that region is certain movements. One of them was a Frank. It was being run by Kabbalistic practicing.
Hey, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down there for more AM